Shalom, Akim Shalom. Before I begin this lesson, I want to start off by giving all glory, honor, and praises to Yahweh, Bahashem, Yahweh Shai, Bahashem, Rachakwarash. Double honor to the elders and apostles of Great Millstone who taught us this truth. A sincere shalom to the hopeful elect that's out there listening, learning, and or teaching in truth and sincerity. Shalom. All right, so what you're looking at here is a depiction of Nero Trump. Okay, you see Trump now in the American Empire to the left. And you see, what we believe through the spirit was Trump back then in the ancient Roman Empire as Nero, okay, because the scriptures talks about reincarnation, which we've done many lessons about, okay, and what we're seeing now, okay, happening in America is what we saw in the ancient Roman Empire, man, okay, and just like the ancient Roman Empire fell, America too is going to fall, man. We're going to go ahead and grab real quick. This is Ecclesiastes 1 and verse 9. The thing that hath been, it is that which shall be. Right? So, this whole Roman Empire spirit, this society and their cultures and customs and religions that were back then, that's the same thing we're seeing now. Wickedness being spread throughout the earth. Okay? Rome's great military power. Here we have America's great military power. Okay? You look on the back of your dollar bill, you have Latin writing. Why is there Latin on the dollar bill? Okay, it goes back to the ancient Roman Empire, right? You got the Super Bowl stadiums, you got the laws, the American laws originating from Latin. Okay, you have, there's many other parallels as well. But, the point being, that which has been, it is that which shall be. All right, it continues, and that which is done is that which shall be done, and there's no new thing under the sun. Right, and that's talking about these spirits that were alive back then, for these, from the rulers of the ancient Roman Empire all the way down to the peasants. All those same spirits are here back in America today. Okay, you got the rulers and you got the people of the lower class. All right, and it's talking about these people, and they're basically, people come back in their same lot, okay? Just like you had the same people alive today were alive during the time of the flood, going all the way back to that flood with Noah's Ark. Hey, those same people, them same wicked spirits are going to be here today to get put to death by fire when America gets nuked by Russia and all these other countries in the East, okay? And, yeah, man. So with that, we're going to go ahead and go into this article real quick. It says the Fourth Amendment firewall. Can ICE legally conduct mass house-to-house sweeps? Because there's a video you can watch of J.D. Vance talking about how they're going to go door-to-door. It says J.D. Vance says ICE will go door-to-door as enforcement ramps up. Right? So it's intensifying. This is published on the 9th. Today's the 10th, right? So let's get into it. It says, federal officials say Americans should expect a sharp increase in immigration enforcement in the coming months as the Trump administration prepares to deploy thousands of new immigration customs enforcement agents across the country. The expansion follows public comments from Vice President J.D. Vance, who said ICE agents would be going door to door as part of what the administration describes as the largest mass deportation effort in U.S. history. So right there, just not even going too deep into it, you already see what's happening, man. All right, this thing is going to get ugly out here. People are already rioting. There's certain places that ICE can't even go through because people will throw rocks at their car. People will all get together and attack, and in some cases are willing to put some of these ICE agents to death. Okay, and I believe some have already been put to death. All right, but now they given them immunity, so now they're basically able to shoot first, ask questions later, just like they did to that woman who was just trying to get the fuck up out of there. This dude threw himself in front of the car so he could have an excuse to blow her head off. All right. But let's see. Let's read this. It says, speaking during a 7 January broadcast on Fox News, Vance said the administration's investments in border and interior enforcement will soon produce higher deportation numbers. Federal officials say ICE now has about 22,000 agents and investigators nationwide, more than double the number reported a year ago, which, I went into it. I believe they have private organizations that are gathering intel on people in order to send these agents to their house. Okay, so, and it's not about goddamn illegal immigrants. It's not about that shit. All right, they're targeting certain people, mainly Israelites, you so-called Negroes, Latinos, and Native American Indians. Okay, and best believe they're eventually going to roll on the elect. And this is all going to be an excuse. Okay, and basically the more people buck up, the more draconian measures they're able to push, because now they have an excuse. All Esau needs is an excuse so he could do something and then gaslight everybody into thinking that, he's the good guy. Okay, this is what he did with Maduro. This is what he did in all these countries he invades. Okay, and now he's invading you people's houses. All right, so let's see how these docile Americans act, or if they're going to do something. All right, White House officials say roughly 2.5 million people living in the United States without legal status have already been deported or left the country under pressure. All right, let's see. Fourth Amendment protections of private homes. They don't give two shits about your Fourth Amendment, in case you didn't realize that. The prospect of door-to-door enforcement has raised questions about the limits imposed by the Fourth Amendment. The amendment protects people against unreasonable searches and seizures and generally requires law enforcement to obtain a judge-signed warrant before entering a private home. Right, they're not supposed to enter without a warrant. Okay, now what they usually do is they try to gaslight you into letting you, come in, or into having you give them permission to come in or opening the door, and then as soon as they come in, or if you give them permission, hey, they're already in the house. So, at that point, it's fair game. But, who knows what they're going to do? They might start breaking people's doors down. They might just stay there until you decide to come out. You got to come out eventually, right? They're getting paid good. They'll probably set up a tent, sleep on your front yard, wait for you to go to work, and tackle your ass and throw you into the back of a van, or get into a gunfight. I mean, it looks like they're willing to get into gunfights. You see? Hey, this thing is speeding up. Yahweh Ba'Shem Shah is making, from what it seems, hey, this could be the year they mandate the chip. Okay, because it's not going to go too much further. They needed chaos so they could mandate that chip. All right. What else is happening? Real quick, we got another article here. Just get the headline. It says, "See what happens." Okay, that's a quote. It says, "See what happens. ICE boss dares Philly sheriff to arrest agents after saying they don't want this smoke." All right, so basically, I guess Philly is saying y'all don't want this smoke, and the ICE boss is saying, see what happens. So basically, it's the feds against the states, which that's what Apostle Tahar was talking about earlier. I was watching his video. He was saying it's the feds versus the states. I might make that the title of the video. Okay, the feds versus the state. Okay. So what did the scriptures say about that, man? So America's divided, man. Not just Democrat, Republican, Israelites versus Edomites, fucking rich versus poor. Now it's states versus the feds. Now the government itself is divided. Matthew 12:25, "And Yahushua knew their thoughts and said unto them, Every kingdom divided against itself is brought to desolation, and every city or house divided against itself shall not stand." You see? So Yahushua is giving us a clue. Hey, America cannot stand, bro. This place is almost finished. Okay, economically is going down. The morale of the people is going down. People are working harder and harder and bringing less home. People don't give a shit no more. People are ready to crash out. Now you got, it's from the inside. This place is being attacked from the inside with all this division. And from the outside, you've got Russia, Iran, China. Okay, something's gonna give, man. This place is not bulletproof. This place is gonna be destroyed very soon. And the Lord is making it known, man. The Lord is making it known. Okay? This is gonna cause civil wars, more uproars. Okay? You know, imagine you're gonna have officers getting into gunfights with ICE agents, and people getting into gunfights with these ICE agents also. And they're just gonna keep bringing in more military, and it's gonna be a lot of division, man. All right, let's get into this one real quick. Okay, we might just play the video. It's not that long.
This is a sheriff in Philadelphia who had a message about your agency on.
This is fair use for educational purposes only.
Hey, watch.
We are not going to whisk you away for them to hide your identity, because when you do it there, you're getting arrested. And so we stand here today with all those who stand against the made-up, fake, what you can call ICE, professional law enforcement. I don't call them none of that. If them want to come in this city and commit a crime, you will not be able to hide. Don't want this smoke, because we will bring it.
Those were on-the-record comments from that law enforcement official, whose bio, by the way, is very heavy on DEI, the bio that she put out for herself. What is your response to those remarks?
First off, Guy, anytime you pit law enforcement officers against law enforcement officers, it makes nobody safe. This is
let me just turn the volume off there. But basically, as you can see, you can have law enforcement versus ICE. And I saw a video a while ago of law enforcement. Somebody had called the cops on ICE. And, yep, they got arrested and taken into back of police cars and driven away. Okay, but best believe it's not going to end like that. It's going to go into all-out chaos, seditions. Okay, let's get into this article real quick. Just going to kind of skim through it. His comments came a day after White House border Cesar Tom Homan pleaded with ICE critics to tone down the rhetoric following the shooting. Homan told Dr. Phil, "I'm begging, tone down the rhetoric. In my career, I've buried Border Patrol agents, I've buried ICE agents, and the saddest thing I've ever had to do is hand a folded flag to a spouse or child. I don't want to see anybody get deleted. Anybody. The people we're looking for, even the worst of the worst, I don't want to see anybody deleted. So for God's sake, let's tone down the rhetoric. Less blood. I don't want to see more bloodshed. I didn't want to see blood from day one." Well, it's too late, man. The Lord has ordained for there to be bloodshed. And there will be bloodshed. Okay, this is the same way that Rome fell. And I got this pulled up real quick. 8 reasons why Rome fell. We can go down. And actually, let's look at some of these. Invasions by barbarian tribes. Economic troubles and over-reliance on enslaved labor, right? Yeah, they had a lot of reliance on these so-called Latino immigrants, right? The Northern Kingdom. And they getting them up out of here. Okay, that's causing problems as well. Okay, not to mention all the other economic issues. The rise of the Eastern Empire, overexpansion and military overspending, the same shit you're seeing now. Now they want to invade all these countries. Venezuela, Greenland, okay? They capturing these vessels from Russia, and they want to go to war in order to steal resources while everybody's against them. Now they increased their military spending limit, I believe, to 1.5 trillion. It was, during the Biden administration, it was only like 800 bills. All right, now it's 1.5 trillion. Okay, almost double. All right, and number 5 is the point: government corruption and political instability. If Rome's sheer size made it difficult to govern, ineffective and inconsistent leadership only served to magnify the problem. Being the Roman Empire had always been a particularly dangerous job, being a Roman emperor had always been a particularly dangerous job, but during the tumultuous 2nd and 3rd centuries, it nearly became a death sentence. Civil war thrust the empire into chaos, and more than 20 men took the throne in the span of only 75 years, usually after the murder of their predecessors. See, so there was a lot of civil wars going on that weakened the empire and brought it down ultimately. It says, the Praetorian Guard, the emperor's personal bodyguards, assassinated and installed new sovereigns at will, and once even auctioned the spot off to the highest bidder. The political rot also extended to the Roman Senate, which failed to temper the excesses of the emperors due to its own widespread corruption and incompetences, right? And we know this place is corrupt. As the situation worsened, civic pride waned and many Roman citizens lost trust in their leadership. What do you see today? Everybody and their mama is watching these truther videos talking about government corruption. You see? The same thing that happened before is happening now, man. And, back then they had emperors, but now we have, presidents. Okay, but, Nero, Trump is acting like an emperor. He's dishing out orders like a dictator. Okay, and, he's causing these insurrections through his actions by sending ICE, to take, and they don't care if you're Edomite either, man. They're attacking Edomites too. This shit's hilarious, man. Hey, Jacob's trouble is going to turn into Esau's trouble. And so, they're going to go door to door. And we know how many there's more guns in America than there are Americans in America. Let that sink in. And a lot of these Edomites out here, these red-blooded Edomites, they want a reason to use all these guns they've been collecting. So, if they got some balls, it's going to be an interesting show that's going to happen here because, they're doing too much. Trump is doing too much. And, that's part of prophecy, though. So, let it happen. Lord's will, it happens. So we can get up out of here sooner, man. All right, this is going to collapse this system so they could bring in the what? The MOTB beast system, where they force everybody to get a chip in their right hand or in their brain. And this is a perfect culture to have right now, this culture of sending these quote-unquote law enforcement, ICE, to basically pull people out of their cars, pull people out of their houses, pull people out of their jobs, out of court. Hell, they went into court and pulled people out of court who were trying to do things the legal route. They're pulling them out of there. So you got this basically militant goon squad coming after people. That's the perfect setup for the MOTB, man. All right, because it's going to put a lot of fear in people's hearts and make them want to comply. All right, these things all play a role, man. But, the main point of this is, this video is showing you that, insurrection is coming, man. Jacob's trouble is here. It's going to only intensify from this point, like we've been saying last year when it got started with these ICE raids. It's going to only intensify and intensify. Now you're going to have more law enforcement. Eventually, military is going to come out there. It's going to be people against their government. City against city, state against states, state against feds, feds against states. All right. This is 2nd Esdras 15, and we're going to start in verse 14. It says, woe, which means destruction, to the world and them that dwell therein. That's right. That's what's coming. All right. All hell breaking loose. For the sword and the destruction draweth nigh, and one people shall stand up to fight against another, and swords in their hand. Right. The sword is the modern day gun. All right. The gun is the modern day sword. People are going to hold guns one against another. Division, chaos. For there shall be sedition among men. That's right. Let's get the word sedition real quick. Conduct or speech inciting people to rebel against the authority of a state or monarch, right? There's people on TikTok talking about you got to take up arms against ICE. You know, ever since they shot that Edomite lady in the head, now you got a lot of Edomites riled up talking about you gotta stand up, use the Second Amendment. You know, they're inciting chaos, right? And then chaos is happening already. Okay, so it's here. It's only gonna go into an upward spiral. There's gonna be more talks. You know, they're gonna have these militias come out. Okay? And people are going to cause violence. Violence is going to lead to more talks, you know. And if they see fear in these ICE agents' eyes, they're going to give out more speeches and incite people to do even more. And that's where they're going to bring out more military, okay? So it's going to funnel all that into a very intense plot. Okay, that's where it's all heading, man. For there shall be sedition among men, and invading one another. They shall not regard their kings nor princes, and the course of their actions shall stand in their power. Yeah, they're not going to give a fuck what Nero Trump has to say. People already are working 3 jobs to live in a one bedroom apartment that feels more like a closet than an apartment. And so now you got people getting roughed up by ICE. It's only going to ruffle people's feathers. Hey, eventually they're going to turn on these different authorities, man. Not to mention with the economy going worse and rent keeping going up and up and up and up. If people see more violence, they're going to feel, quote unquote, inspired to try to fix problems now with violence. You see, this is the time we're coming into, man. This is why we tell you women, you need a man of the Lord. Or you're just gonna end up put to death out here, man. This isn't a world for women, okay? This isn't a world for boss bitches, okay? This world we're coming into is more like going into the jungle. All right, it's wild, it's chaotic, and it's gonna be a lot of death, a lot of robbery, a lot of grape. Okay, these ICE agents were graping women. You see? And children, okay? And it's only going to get worse, man. It's only going to get worse. And these people are eventually going to snap, and there's going to be a great insurrection, man, a great insurrection, man. Okay? A lot of people in high places are going to be put to death, right? You already saw glimpses of that with the Luigi Mangione situation, you know, with the fucking Kirk Salaki, I'm gonna have to cut that out with the CK situation. You know. Verse 17, a man shall desire to go into a city and shall not be able, right? Those checkpoints being set up, right? Because there's gonna be so much chaos. They're gonna have to set up those 15-minute cities, those checkpoints, right? If Trump calls martial law, you know, then he'll be able to stay president. Then he'll be able to stay emperor here. You see? Hey, this is spiritual. All right, verse 18. For because of their pride, the city shall be troubled, the houses shall be destroyed, and men shall be afraid. That's right. Because you Americans are so fucking proud. You think you're better than everybody else. You're narcissistic, right? You're following the American way, the Western way. The same way of the pagan Roman Empire is the same way that's being pushed worldwide here. You know? You people do everything backwards, but you think you're better than everybody else. You see? You think you're better than the Lord. You think you are a God. Right? You have that God complex that Esau has. Right? All this fucking pride. Well, guess what? The Lord's about to break your fucking pride, man. The Lord's about to break your fucking pride. All right? So you better repent, you Israelites out here. You so-called Negroes, Latinos, Native American Indians. You're the only nation who the Lord has respect for. You're the only nation that can repent. All these other heathens out here, they're just going to get what's coming to them. But you have an opportunity to repent, and here it is. Okay, we bring these videos out every day to edify the elect, the hopeful elect, right? That you may eat and be filled spiritually. Okay, this is the time to gather up oil for your lamps. Okay, because that pride leads to destruction. Thinking you know everything, but here we are predicting the future. We've been predicting this would happen, and here it is. What do you got to say about that, man? You know, this channel is at least 2 years old. Okay? And a lot of this stuff, you know, I've been saying it for years. And all the you know, all of us here in Great Millstone, man, starting with the apostles and elders, have been saying this. You know, they've been saying it for decades, man. And it's finally here. This is Proverbs 16:18. Pride goeth before destruction, and a haughty spirit before a fall. And that's what's happening to America right now. The proudest country that ever lived. And it's going to have a great fall, man. A great fall. All right? And it's happening from the inside out. City against city and state against state. People, right? Class wars, race wars. All this shit is coming, man. And ultimately, America going to war with these other countries on a high level. The chip getting mandated, then it goes nuclear. All right, we're almost here. We're almost out of here. Yasharallah. I pray that was edifying to the hopeful elect. Giving all glory, honor, and praises to Yahweh, Bahashem Yahweh Shai, Bahashem Rachakurash. Double honor to the elders and apostles of Great Millstone that taught us this truth. Sincere shalom to the hopeful elect. Shalom wa. Abad babal. Shalom.